the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Welcome to another WC podcast. I'm your guest host, Cecil Felder. With me today, I have CEO of the RTC, Ms. MJ Maynard. Welcome, MJ.
Hi, Cecil. I'm really happy to be here. Great to see you.
Likewise, it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you for joining the segment today.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and it's been a privilege to know you as long as I have and to work with you. So again, when you called and said, "Hey, MJ, I'd love to talk to you," as part of Workforce Connections podcast, I jumped on it. Couldn't wait to be here.
Wow. I have to share a brief story with you. About 13 years ago, I was here in Las Vegas attending a safety summit at my previous employer, and it was at the Golden Nugget, and you were the keynote speaker. And I remember sitting in the audience saying, one day I'm going to meet her. And I had no idea that for almost a decade I would be under your leadership. So I wanted to share that story with you.
Oh, Cecil, I do remember that event. I didn't know you were in the audience.
I was in the audience.
I didn't know you were in the audience.
Yep. But nevertheless, fast forward, 2022, almost 10 years later, I've been serving you as a client here in Southern Nevada, and it's a privilege to have you today.
Hey, listen, this is a partnership. I think that we serve each other. I think our combined efforts have made us a great part of the community, but I enjoy working with you and Keolis and all that we do on behalf of the community.
Awesome. You know, MJ, in 2017, and when we first took over this contract, Keolis, back in 2013, we leaned heavily on the resources here at Workforce Connection. To the tune of about 25% of all of our new hire candidates actually came through the Workforce Connection pipeline. You know, in 2017, I had the opportunity to serve the Workforce Connections board. At that time, there were still some silos and barriers within Workforce Connection. Through the years, through Jaime's leadership and his amazing team, those silos have been torn down. That's from the inside looking in, but from the outside looking in, what changes have you noticed here at Workforce Connections?
Well, I will tell you that certainly Jaime Cruz, Irene Bustamante-Adams, and really the entire Workforce Connections team, the Workforce Connections board, have done an incredible job of identifying strategic partnerships. I think Jaime is I call him the king of collaboration. I don't know, go out in Las Vegas, everybody knows Jaime, and that's been, I think, by design. Jaime has understood that there have been partnerships potential. A lot of organizations that I think all want the same thing in terms of developing workforce, preparing employees for available jobs. But Jaime and his team have done a really good job of breaking down those silos and understanding that there are resources available. And sometimes it takes getting those partnerships in the room to identify how you can further advance the goals of Workforce Connections. So I've seen just a community awareness of what Workforce Connections does on behalf of the community. And I think there are probably more folks that are aware that they can come here, whether they've been previously incarcerated and are looking to start over, or they want new skills to get a new type of job, or they're just looking for work. I think, again, there's more of an awareness based on the partnerships that Jaime and the team have identified. So my hat's off to the entire organization.
Wow. You know, that's amazing to get that kind of recap, you know, from the outside looking in. Sometimes when we're inside something, you know, I have a saying to my staff that a great musician doesn't know that they're a great musician until the audience walks up and say, wow.
Right.
So to get that vantage point from you, from the outside looking in, we're definitely going in the right direction.
You know, I think even the fact that there is now sort of this one-stop shop mentality and process. And that, again, is understanding how do you get either the people to the resources, the employers, how to get the employers to the people. And I think that Workforce Connections has done a tremendous job in bringing on new partners like CSN, which, of course, you and I are particularly excited about, the Chambers of Commerce. And to me, that was brilliant. It's just sort of this no-brainer, right? You've got an organization that represents businesses. Workforce Connections says, hey, we've got employees that could potentially help those businesses. What a great partnership. So, and then, of course, what you mentioned in transportation, the fact that Workforce Connections has helped our business in such a tremendous way. 25%, I had no idea it was that high. Again, the secret sauce in Las Vegas is really, part of it is this organization.
Absolutely. And we're going to have to continue to be creative in our recruitment efforts and our strategies as we start to round the corner and come out of this pandemic. We are going to have to continue to be innovative and creative in our approach to recruitment, hiring, and also upward mobility. Let's not forget about that. Yeah. This is also a platform where individuals can come and scale their skill sets, talents, and abilities.
Agree.
Awesome. My next question for you is talking about COVID-19 and the impact that it has had on the nation, specifically here in Southern Nevada. How is the RTC handling service delivery with the impact of COVID-19?
So for your listeners, just to really understand the partnership between Cecil and Keolis and MJ and the RTC, we work together. Yes. We contract out our transportation, our transit service to Keolis and to another organization. And so you and I both know and have been aware for years the importance of transportation in regard to getting employees to their job. So we've been aware of that. I think the pandemic really highlighted and confirmed what we know, and that we were connecting essential workers to jobs that kept the economy stood up during the pandemic. And as you and I also are very aware, around the United States, here in Las Vegas, our ridership, while the pandemic had a vastly negative impact to ridership around the United States, we saw less of a decline in ridership here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Because we are a service town, right? We are this 24-hour nature, except for, of course, when the strip closed down. But my point is that we saw less of a drop in ridership because we move a lot of essential workers.
Yes.
And the importance of, I think, for employers was ensuring that those employees got to work. So very impactful, but I think today it still lingers. And
Yes.
and again, as you know, Cecil, we've had to, unfortunately, reduce our transit service. We call it to a Saturday schedule. So What does that mean? That means that because we are experiencing a labor shortage and have been experiencing a labor shortage since the pandemic, we've had to reduce our transit service because we don't have enough operators or enough bus drivers. And it's sort of this vicious cycle. And what I mean by that is so many folks have no other option of getting around Southern Nevada other than public transit.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people use public transit to get to that job. And now that our service is reduced, not only is it harder to get to that job
Yes.
or to go find employment, but our job first and foremost is to be as reliable as we can on behalf of the public. So we have reduced our transit service. So pandemic, while we're coming out of it, we still very much feel it. And unfortunately for our customers, this is the last thing we want to do is reduce our service. And so for anybody that is listening to this podcast that takes public transit or family members that take public transit, gosh, we're sorry that we are not providing the transit service that they want and need. And this is where I think, again, that Workforce Connections will help our organization, Keolis and the RTC, to identify, there's a lot of great jobs in transit. It's not just being a bus operator or a mechanic. There's finance and marketing and all of those occupations that you would find under any business. So I think that we are going to find it's going to be difficult, but I think we're going to continue to work with organizations like Workforce Connections to find that next new employee that's going to help keep the community moving.
Essentially, MJ, the RTC is the lifeblood. Transit is the lifeblood in our community. And, I know it was a very difficult decision for the agency to make, but through your leadership, we believe that you made the right decision to switch to a Saturday schedule. It takes some of the pressure off of the system. To your point, we are short drivers. That's no secret. This is plaguing the nation. And again, through your leadership, it took some of that pressure off, gave more of a service delivery to the riding public. They know when that bus is going to show up, right? Clarity. But then we got creative and had to come up with new ideas on how to recruit, how to strategize, how to organize to get our internal employee to complement. And so what we recently did, Keolis, decided to hire Class C operators. So people can come in the door now with the Class C license. We do a CDL prep, which is parallel with our fixed operator course, and it's paid training, right? And, in partnership with Workforce Connections, Jaime and his team and you and your staff, we had to get creative and say, how do we align ourselves to give folks the opportunity to get a sustainable wage while they're being paid to learn. And then the team is also able to provide CDL training in-house. So we believe in the next few months we should see a turn and an increase in our candidate pool and in our workforce.
A couple of things you just said, Cecil, that I think it's important. There is nothing worse than trying to show up to your job, whether it's your first day as a new employee or it's a place you've worked for a long time, and you walk to your bus stop and you wait for your bus to arrive, and it never shows.
Yeah.
And that was happening as we're coming out of this pandemic because of the labor shortage, and so we knew we needed to react to we have to be reliable on behalf of the community. But I think it's also important and I think this is, again, such a value that Workforce Connections adds to this community. So for folks, particularly, so they're looking for work or they want to learn a new skill set so they can in order to find a better paying job, for example.
Yes.
It's very difficult to do that if you're not being paid while you're doing that, right? Not many people can afford to get trained in a new job and not get a paycheck.
Yes.
So I think the fact that Workforce Connections has worked closely and with Keolis in this case, and allowed our future employees to get paid as they're being trained, I think that goes a long way in sustaining that training period. And once that employee is able to do that, 9 times out of 10 they're going to be very successful, and they're going to have this new career.
Absolutely.
So again, my hat's off to just the way the organization has thought all those things through.
Absolutely. And it allows us to really communicate to our workforce that we care, we commit, and we imagine. That is key critical. It helps out employee retention. When employees feel that you really care about them, they don't want to go anywhere else. Even if there's a higher paying job somewhere else, this is home. With that being said, what does it mean to you as a CEO of the RTC, knowing that one of your contractors, specifically Keolis, has a seat at the board at Workforce Connections?
Well, first, I'm so proud of you, Cecil. I'll tell you, Keolis, but certainly you, and I know that you're a very humble guy.
Yes, ma'am.
But I've watched you over the years get involved in this community. I was on the board for Hope for Prisoners until I was termed out, and that's where you and I really put the passion that we have for particularly folks that need a second chance into play. And so I remember calling you and saying, Cecil, you need people. I know people. Let's connect. And so I watched you just start there, recruiting again folks that had been previously incarcerated, that sort of had the scarlet letter,
Yes.
right? The tough job, finding a job. A tough opportunity, just trying to get a place to live, all of those things that really hold people back from advancing in life. And so I know you and I kind of started there. But then when I learned that you had joined the board, to me, having a representative for transportation, to me, transportation is sort of think of the yolk and the egg. We're sort of this nucleus, because without transportation, whether it's in your car, yes. Of course, we wear a lot of hats at the RTC. We're not only the public transit provider, we're the traffic manager, we're the roadway planning and funding agency. So getting that mobility, getting folks to work, that's how it starts, right?
Yes.
So many times when you think of what inhibits employees or potential employees from finding a potential employer, many times it's that connection. How do I get there? How do I get there if I don't have a car? So I think, again, having your insight as a board member for Workforce Connections, having that transportation component is so important, because transportation, it really is, again, the key to success. It's connecting people to places, to opportunities, to things. And so I think you've probably added some insight into the importance of how mobility is necessary in connecting employees to employers. Even if it's your one-stop shop, right? I know that Workforce Connections, they partner with the libraries.
Yes.
Many libraries are along our transit systems, right? So someone can take a bus. They can take a bus to a library. They can meet with Workforce Connections, meet with employers, because now you have this one-stop shop process. And I think that's been really critical. So having you represent transportation on the Workforce Board, I think is probably, they're getting a lot out of it as well.
Awesome. Thank you, MJ. Very humbled, very honored. I'll continue to serve the community here in Southern Nevada and continue to serve you and your team, as I promised you a few years ago, if you don't remember, right? I told you, I promised you that I will continue to serve. So I have to ask this question because it's one of my go-to questions. And I've always wanted to ask you this. What is your why? What's that thing that wakes you up in the morning, that puts your feet on the ground, that makes you go exercise and just embrace your day? What's your why?
Cecil knows that. Cecil knows I'm up at the crack of dawn to get to the gym. I'm a better person after I work out. My employees are really happy that I get up in the morning and hit the gym. I think my why is how can we, and I'll speak on behalf of the RTC, how can we continue to serve the community? And because it is about the people, we do not take that lightly. We are here to ensure that what we do, again, as a public transit provider, as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, as the traffic manager, how are we ensuring that we are, again, serving the community? And my why too is that if we need to find ways to improve how we're doing that, we need to listen to the community. We have to be humble about it, and we have to make sure that we hear, we learn, and we improve. And so the why every day is, and I'll tell you, I have a real personal why. I grew up as someone in a family, we couldn't afford a car. And I know what it's like to have limited choices. And so I have a particular heartfelt why to get up every morning to ensure that folks that don't have a lot of those choices, that rely on us the most, are harmed the least. And so it really is an honor to serve the community. And I know that I work with a tremendous team at the RTC, and we are committed. We know the importance of again, we work for the community. We have to listen to the community, and we have to do our very, very best in the roles that we've been assigned to be the best partners that we can to the community. So that's my why. It's the people. That's
powerful. Mm-hmm. And it's powerful in a sense. And, I don't want to put anybody in a box, but I know that you're a dog lover, an animal lover. I saw the gleam in your eye. But what's beautiful is that I've met people where they like animals, but they don't like people. You have an equal balance. Mm-hmm. You have this caring spirit, this gift about you where, your why is people. And you also equally, right? You love animals the same. So, I think that's brilliant.
Well, Cecil, so when I think, I tell you that I have that's sort of heartfelt for folks that really rely on us the most. Yes. I think committed to many of our customers, maybe that they don't have a seat at the table, or they don't have a voice as loud as other stakeholders. And I sort of think the same thing about animals. They also don't have a voice. And so I think sometimes we have to do our very best for those that maybe don't have a voice or are represented in a way that they should be. So you're right. I do love animals. And I have said in the past, maybe I love animals more than people, but I don't.
No, it's the same. It's a balance.
There's a commitment. There's a commitment to serve again and do our very best for those that rely on us the most. Whether it is my 3 or 4 dogs, 4 when I have my son's dog, but it is people, and it is again understanding just how important our role is to serve the people of Southern Nevada.
And that is why you are the CEO of the RTC. My last question for you. As we close out, is there anything else that you would like the listening audience to know, or any last words before we close out?
Well, I think I want the listening audience to know, particularly anybody that, so if you rely on public transit or you would like to take public transit, we love to hear from you. You can call me directly. You can email us. We're on social media. We want to know when we are serving you to the best of our ability. If we're letting you down, We need to know, which is one of the reasons, again, that we went to the Saturday schedule. We heard from the community, and they said, you're failing us right now, RTC. And so we had to pivot. But it's important, whether we are the traffic manager, and trust me, we hear that. We hear a lot. It's just we want to know how we can better serve the community, and I think that's probably where I'd leave it. We are who we are as an agency because we have listened to what the community wants and needs, and that's how we get up every day and figure out, okay, let's get to work. Wow.
Thank you, MJ. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate you, and we love and respect you.
Thanks, Cecil, and that is a two-way street. You're a great partner. Really appreciate you.
Awesome. So there you have it, another segment of the WC Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Excellent, MJ. Thank you for joining our bonus segment titled Against the Wall. I have a couple of questions for you, and just tell me whatever is the first thing that comes to mind. So this segment is called Your Favorites. Your favorite place to shop.
I hate shopping.
Your favorite article of clothing.
Anything that I wear to the gym.
Your favorite dessert.
Chocolate. Anything with chocolate. And peanut butter.
Your favorite movie.
Oh, gosh, The Green Mile.
Your favorite car.
I haven't bought it yet, so I don't know if it's my favorite, but maybe it would be like a Lamborghini.
Your favorite holiday.
Oh, I love Christmas.
And your favorite way to relax.
It used to be wine. I think reading a good book is my favorite way to relax.
We had the same answer. This next segment is called Tough Choices. Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
To be embarrassed or to be afraid?
To be afraid.
Cooking or to be cooked for?
Cooking.
A great car or a great house?
A great house.
A beach house or a cabin in the woods?
A cabin in the woods.
Red wine or white wine?
Red.
Brilliant. This final segment is called Finish the Sentence. Not many people know MJ likes to.
Not many people that I like to go on walks every single day.
MJ's perfect weekend is
spending time with people I care for. So my husband, my dogs. If my grown son will come see me, that's a bonus.
MJ spends most of her free time
working.
The one thing MJ brings with her everywhere she goes is
water.
Doing the WC podcast today was
amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, MJ, for joining us.
Thank you.